Good morning. Today we are working on CO41. So I have it in our plans to do an objective today, an objective on tomorrow, and an objective on Thursday or Friday. So we will be doing an objective Friday. Usually it's just con and retakes, but we're going to do an objective Friday because I want us to get our tests in by next week, Thursday. So that way we have the test done before Catholic Schools Week. The week after is Catholic Schools Week, which is always a week of fun and kind of silliness involved with it. And it's really hard to concentrate on a big math test if we are in a silly mode. So we want to get that test done by Thursday. So this is our plan. Objective today, 42 tomorrow, 43 on Friday. And then if we have time, we will do, I know a couple of us have like one retake to do. I'm hoping we'll have time to do one retake, not a whole class of retakes, but maybe one retake on Friday. Monday there's no school because it's Martin Luther King Day. So Tuesday will be our review day. Wednesday's the practice test next week. Thursday is our real test. So that's our plan. So that way we can have the test done before Catholic Schools Week. So those of you that are not finishing your homework, you're getting it started in class and you're not getting it done at home. Some of us, we just had one day of the oops, we forgot. One day has happened. But when we get 2 or 3 days of not doing our homework, it's really going to hurt you next week when you do that test. You have to work on that homework. You have to make sure you understand what you're doing. I'm after school today until 2:30, because I have that meeting at 2:30. I'm after school tomorrow all the way till 3 o'clock. So if you want help reviewing any of these objectives, that's what I'm here for. Next week, Wednesday, if you want to review those objectives from 2 to 3, I can help with that. So if you're saying, oh, I'm kind of struggling with some of this, plan on saying after next Wednesday. Real test is on Thursday. We'll go through that practice test and make sure you understand it. Adeline. Yeah, I'll come and check you out. Thank you. I've been trying to get people as they've been returning from the math testing, but I'll get you when it's work time. Thank you. And if you have graphing that you still owed me from the holiday graphing, make sure your name's on it and put it in the blue tray so we can get that checked off. So if you have that graphing from Christmas, name on it, put it in the blue tray. All right, today, CO41. I can evaluate expressions with fractions using addition or subtraction. So now instead of just putting that whole number in for our variable, we are working with fractions, and we need to remember the rules of working with fractions when we are adding or subtracting. So hopefully you are becoming comfortable with the variables, as it won't be too long until you are using them very frequently in math. Next year in pre-algebra, we use variables all the time. This objective practices plugging in values for variables that are fractions. So remember your rules for adding and subtracting fractions and using variables in an expression. So who can remind me? What's the number one rule? First thing we do when we are adding or subtracting fractions. Nolan. Common denominator. All right, so we can see our variables are 1/4, 3/8, 7/10, 12/20. Sometimes when we plug in our variable, like our A here, if we plugged in 3/4, oh, is it not going to work for me? Let me see if I can recalibrate real quick to get it to work. It's just on the wrong screen. Let me get it on the correct screen, and then it should work. While I'm doing this, Jack, can you do me a favor and just take this charging cord and put it in the basket back there so I don't step on it? Thank you. All right, now let's check to see if it works. So if I put in at 3/4 minus A is 1/4. I already have that common denominator. I don't have to worry about it. There's that 4 on the bottom. So our first step is making sure we have that common denominator. What's the second step when we're adding or subtracting fractions? What do you think, Emma? Not yet. If I'm looking at that right there, I can't simplify it. What do I do, Sophie? Subtract just the numerator. So we're just subtracting the top. 3 minus 1 equals 2. What do we do with our denominator? Adeline? The denominator stays the same. Once we have that common denominator, that denominator stays the same. So we had the 3 minus 1 is 2, and then our 4 remains a 4. Now what do I do, Sophie? I need to simplify. Sophie knows that out of the 2 and the 4, I can divide out a 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Can I get any simpler? I can't. So that is my final answer. So remember our steps. 1, you find that common denominator. I'm just going to simplify that. Denom. We know that means denominator. 2, add or subtract the numerator. And our denominator stays the same. So we want to remember, denominator stays the same. Final step, simplify, simplify, simplify. Some of us remember these steps from when we worked on this objective, reviewing it from 5th grade. Some of us are going to want to write the steps down. Okay? Common denominator, that's your first step. Adding or subtracting just the numerator. Denominator stays the same. Final step, simplify, simplify, simplify. Keep going until you're as low as you can get. So the first few are pretty, we've got common denominators already. Let's look at A plus B. My goodness, this is math and all we have are letters. So we need to turn it into the mathy math, putting the numbers in for our letters. A is 1/4 plus, make sure that you're doing the correct operation. I always have some students who forget to copy down the correct operation. And if it says add up here, they accidentally put subtract because the one before we subtracted. So make sure you're doing the correct operation. B is 3/8. So remember, first step, common denominator. What is my common denominator for 1/4 and 3/8? Adeline? 8. So I can keep 3/8 the same. What do I have to do to the 1/4, Jack? Times it by 2. So 4 times 2 gives me that 8. I have to remember whatever I do to the bottom, I do to the top. So if I multiply the bottom by 2, I have to multiply my top by 2. And it's adding. So now I have 2/8 plus 3/8 equals what? What do you think? Let's see. 5/8. We add just the numerator. Denominator stays the same. Final step. Can I simplify? Thumbs up if I can simplify, thumbs down if I cannot. What do you think? Can I simplify 5/8? I see a lot of thumbs down. There is not a factor that I can divide out of both 5 and 8. And remember, it has to be able to divide out of both of those numbers. So 5/8 is my final answer. Circle your final answer because we have all these fractions in there. It's easy to get confused what the final answer is, so it's always a good habit to circle your final answer. Let's scroll up. Now on the bottom, it says, using the values for A, B, C, and or D above, write and evaluate an expression with the solution between a half and 1. Solution being it equals. So we need to equal a fraction that's between a half and 1. And then on the bottom, this time, our solution, we have to equal a fraction that's between 1 and 2. So what I would do is I would look at those variables values and say, okay, what if I did, what if I did 7, let's see, let's do 12/20 minus 7/10. Nope, that's not going to work. We're going to do 7/10 minus 12/20. Let's see if that works. First step would be to common denominator, so I'm multiplying by 2. So I have 14/20 minus 12/20. Uh-oh, that gives me 2/20. That is less than a half. That's not going to work. All right, so you're going to have to do some guessing and checking to see if we can find something that works. That one does not work because my answer, 2/20, is less than a half, not between a half and 1. So it's okay to do multiple tries to see if you can find something that would work. Let's try, I don't know, anybody have one that we could try that we think might give us an answer between a half and 1? Adeline? All right, let's check and see. Our common denominator could be 40. So 8 to 40, I'm going to times by 5. 10 to 40, I times by 4. Uh-oh. I've got 15 minus 28. That's going to give me a negative number. Let's see if we flip it around. If we did 7/10 minus 3/8. So we would have 28/40 minus 15/40. What's 28 minus 15? Adeline? So that would equal 13/40. Half of 40 is 20. 13 is smaller than a half. So that one doesn't work. Keep trying to see if you can find one that works that'll give you an answer between a half and 1. Same thing down here, except this one you're going to want your answer to be between 1 and 2. So you're going to have to keep working at it. If you need more space, the page right before you is an empty page. So if you look over at the left side, you have an empty page. You can use that as workspace to try to find one. Once you find an answer, you would write it like maybe it's B plus C. I don't know if it is, but you're going to write what variables you use. So don't put that right now as the answer, but your final answer is going to be the variables, not the fraction values. So it's going to take a little bit of work to find ones that work for these two. Any questions on today's math? We have a lot of work time today. We've got 20 minutes. So really work hard. If you have questions, come up and see me. Remember those steps for adding and subtracting fractions. And if we don't finish in class, it is homework. We do assignment notebooks for a reason. Make sure you check your assignment notebook every night. See, do I have homework? Okay? If you finish the assignment, cross it off on your assignment notebook. If you're not sure, check in your math binder. If you're watching this at home, I hope you are well, and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.